But on the third night, as she scrolled through the CCTV footage, her blood ran cold. She saw her mother-in-law and her husband doing the unthinkable. Adesuwa wanted to run mad. How can mother and son be sleeping together? There is more to this I need to know. Before I continue my story, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn on the notification bell, and click on all as to watch all our interesting videos. Adesuwa had always been a woman of patience, grace, and quiet observation. She believed in her marriage, even when little cracks began to appear. But deep down, an unsettling feeling had been growing in her heart like a slow-burning fire. Something was wrong in her home, something she couldn't explain. Her husband, Daniel, had always been charming, the kind of man who could talk his way out of anything. But lately his excuses had become too frequent, his eyes too shifty, and his phone too guarded. Adesuwa felt the distance between them widening like an unspoken chasm. At first, she thought he was just stressed from work, maybe having financial troubles he didn't want to share. But then, she noticed something peculiar. Whenever she traveled for business trips, his mood would change. It was almost as if he was relieved when she left. She had ignored the warning signs for too long. The strange perfume scent on his clothes that wasn't hers, the whispers over the phone in the dead of night, and the way he became defensive whenever she asked simple questions. Then, there was his mother, Madam Folake, a woman of elegance and mystery. She never really liked Adesuwa, even though she put on a smile when necessary. She always had an air of possessiveness over Daniel, but Adesuwa had brushed it off as a mother's natural love for her son. But what mother visits her son every other day, especially when his wife is away? What mother lingers in the house for hours, sometimes even staying the night? Adesuwa's best friend, Nkechi, had warned her. Something isn't right. That woman is too involved in your marriage. You need to watch closely, she had said one evening over drinks. But Adesuwa had laughed it off. You're overthinking, she had replied. But now, she wasn't so sure anymore. And when she stumbled upon a pair of expensive red stilettos under her bed, shoes that were definitely not hers, her heart began to race. Determined to uncover the truth, Adesuwa decided to install CCTV cameras in strategic places around the house. Not just in the living room, but also in their bedroom, the guest room, and the hallway leading to their bedroom. If Daniel was hiding something, she was going to find out. The first few days after setting up the cameras were uneventful. But on the third night, as she scrolled through the recorded footage on her phone, her blood ran cold. At first, she wasn't sure what she was seeing. The footage showed her husband opening the door late at night, glancing around nervously, then stepping aside to let someone in. It was Madam Folake, his mother. Adesuwa's heart pounded in her chest as she watched. She expected them to have a normal conversation, maybe discuss family matters. But what happened next sent a chill down her spine. Daniel and Madam Folake embraced, not the kind of hug shared between a mother and son. This was different. It was lingering, intimate, sinister. Adesuwa dropped her phone in shock, her hands trembling. No, this can't be happening, she whispered to herself. But the truth was right in front of her. Adesuwa forced herself to pick up the phone again, her heart racing. She pressed play, needing to be sure that her mind wasn't playing tricks on her. Maybe it was just an affectionate moment, a misinterpretation. But what she saw next shattered every illusion. Daniel's hands moved over Madam Folake's waist in a way no son should ever touch his mother. His fingers trailed over her back as she leaned into him, whispering something into his ear. Then she kissed him. Adesuwa slapped a hand over her mouth, a silent scream locked in her throat. The bile in her stomach churned, threatening to rise. This wasn't just betrayal. This was evil. She pressed pause and shut her eyes tightly, wishing she could unsee what she had just witnessed. But when she reopened them, the screen still showed the undeniable truth. Her husband was sleeping with his so-called mother. Adesuwa could barely breathe. Her hands felt numb, her entire body weak with shock. Was this a nightmare? A twisted, sick hallucination? No, it was real. The video didn't lie. She needed answers. She needed to understand. Rushing to the kitchen, she grabbed a glass of water and gulped it down, hoping it would calm the storm inside her. But nothing could erase what she had seen. Her mind raced. Was Madam Folake really his biological mother? Could there have been a mistake? Then it hit her. Daniel had never really shown her any baby pictures of himself with his mother. There were a few family portraits, but none that explicitly confirmed their biological bond. The more she thought about it, the more the pieces started falling into place. Madam Folake was unnaturally close to Daniel, always interfering in their marriage, always making decisions as if she were his wife. And Daniel? He never complained. Whenever she had questioned him about his mother's constant presence, he always had the same excuse. She's just lonely. I'm all she has. But now she knew the truth. Madam Folake wasn't his mother. She was his sugar mummy. The revelation made her sick. She clenched her fists, gripping the kitchen counter to steady herself. A mixture of rage, betrayal, and disgust boiled inside her, threatening to consume her whole. How long had this been going on? Since before their marriage? Or was she just a pawn in their twisted game? Adesuwa needed more proof. She needed to confront Daniel, but she had to be smart about it. With trembling hands, she rewound the footage and watched it again, this time taking note of every detail, the time, the way they moved, their expressions. She needed to know how deep the deception ran. Then, something else caught her attention. Madam Folake had a key to the house. Adesuwa gasped. She had never given her a spare key. How had she gotten it? Her chest tightened. Daniel must have given it to her. This wasn't just an affair. It was an arrangement. A secret life happening right under her nose. The thought made her stomach turn. She had two options: confront them immediately, or gather more evidence and plan her revenge. Her rage urged her to storm into the bedroom and scream at them. But the logical part of her mind held her back. She needed to be tactical. She needed to break them the way they had broken her. She took a deep breath and made her decision. She would act like nothing had happened. She would continue as the loving wife, the unsuspecting fool. But behind the scenes, she would prepare for the ultimate reckoning. She wouldn't just expose them. She would ruin them. Adesuwa smiled bitterly. Let the game begin. Adesuwa wiped away the single tear that had betrayed her. No, she wouldn't break down. Not yet. She had spent years loving Daniel, building a life with him, trusting him. And all along, she had been nothing but a cover for his dark secret. But if he thought she was weak, he was gravely mistaken. She picked up her phone and copied the CCTV footage to a secret hard drive. She needed leverage. This wasn't just about exposing them. It was about making them pay. Her heart pounded as a new idea formed in her mind. What if this wasn't just an affair? What if there was more? Could Daniel and Madam Folake be involved in something even darker? Could this be about money? A secret inheritance? A cult? She needed to dig deeper. Over the next few days, she pretended like nothing had changed. She kissed Daniel before he left for work, cooked his favorite meals, and even sent good morning messages, as usual. But at night, while he slept beside her, she conducted her secret investigation. She searched his phone when he left it unattended, looking for any messages between him and Madam Folake. But he was smart. He had deleted most conversations. Then she checked his bank statements. And what she found sent chills down her spine. Large sums of money, millions, were being transferred from his account to an unknown account every month. At first, she thought it was just regular spending. But then she traced the recipient. The account belonged to a woman named Yawanda Bassi. Her breath hitched. Who was Yawanda? The name didn't ring a bell, but something about it gnawed at her. She did a quick search through her phone and found an old newspaper article. It was a crime report from 7 years ago. A woman named Yawanda Bassi had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Her family suspected she was murdered, but her body was never found. Adesuwa's hands trembled as she read further. Yawanda had been a wealthy businesswoman, and she had been engaged to Daniel. Her mind spun. Did Daniel kill his former fiancé? If so, why was money still being sent to her account? Unless she wasn't really dead. Adesuwa's stomach twisted. Was this why Daniel had married her? Was she just another pawn in whatever dark game he was playing? The room felt suffocating. She needed air. The next morning, she acted normal. She served Daniel breakfast with a soft smile, even as her heart hammered inside her chest. "Daniel, can I ask you something?" she said casually. He looked up from his plate, smiling. "Of course, love." She hesitated, then asked, "Who is Yewande Bassi?" For a split second, she saw it. A flicker of panic in his eyes. But he masked it quickly. "She was an old business associate," he replied smoothly, taking a sip of his tea. "Why do you ask?" Adesuwa held his gaze, pretending to be uninterested. "I just came across the name somewhere. I was curious." Daniel chuckled. "You and your curiosity." He reached for her hand. "You have nothing to worry about." But she did have something to worry about. Because that night she checked her CCTV footage again and saw something that nearly made her scream. Madam Folake wasn't alone this time. She was with another woman. And that woman was Yewande Bassi. Adesuwa slapped a hand over her mouth, her entire body frozen in shock. "She's alive." The two women sat in her living room, whispering intensely. Adesuwa adjusted the volume to hear them. "She's getting suspicious," Yewande said. Madam Folake exhaled sharply. She was never supposed to find out. "We need to act fast." Adesuwa's pulse pounded in her ears. Act fast? What did that mean? Then she saw it. On the table between them was a small brown bottle labeled belladonna. Her breath caught in her throat. Belladonna was a poison. A deadly one. Madam Folake tapped the bottle. "It has to be in small doses. If she dies suddenly, it'll be suspicious." Adesuwa felt her blood turn to ice. They were planning to kill her. Her mind raced. They had done this before. To Yewande. But somehow she had survived. And now, they were planning to do it to her. Adesuwa had played the fool long enough. They thought she was weak. But they had no idea who they were dealing with. She had the evidence. She had the truth. Now, all she needed was a plan. And when the time was right, she would strike.